This is my voice. Sorry, I haven't spoken in a while. Let me see. I know a couple of languages. I know Dutch, English, Chinese, a little bit of German. I'm now studying Korean. My French is really, really bad. I'm forgetting more languages than I'm learning. But that's usually the case. Sorry, can you hear me? Just checking if my mic works. Yeah, I'm a linguist. So I studied linguistics at uni in college. And yeah, it's pretty much what I do. I learn languages and teach people how to use them. Call it a hobby and a job. Also, I live in Korea at the moment. I used to live in China before that, so I got to use them quite a lot. My wife is Korean, so that helps. Thank you. You're welcome to come and welcome to stay, study if you want. If you've got any questions, let me know. I will be here. That's a good question. I actually already got my degree. I've been teaching for a while, and I teach bilingual classes. So what I do is right now I'm teaching Western culture, English culture, and history to Chinese students in China. And I do this in multiple languages. So I found that having multiple languages really helps to, just teach in their language as well as my own. These are called bilingual classes, mainly by the Butzkum method. It's a German linguist who actually combines two languages, both the target language and the native language, which I find really, really helpful. For me, I'm not much of a translator, though I do think that having multiple languages under your belt can be very, very helpful in business. For example, I also record for a couple of studios in different countries, and I would not have had those jobs, those gigs, if not for my ability to speak in their languages. So it kind of helps all around. And other than that, one thing that I really like is I get to read in their language. So I also get to read, for example, right now I'm reading up on Chinese history, and yeah, it's enlightening, man. Also, their literature, which is admittedly a bit harder, but yeah, it's addicting, really. So you could say it's both professional, and I also do it as a hobby. They kind of mix for me. But I suppose there's no clear way, there's no clear path for people who study linguistics to, you don't just land into a job or anything. You've kind of got to market yourself and find what your languages can be used for. So it's definitely not like studying medicine. If you study medicine, you know what you're going to be. Linguistics, sadly, if you're not into translation or interpreting, yeah, it can be a tough road unless you plot out your own course. That's how I see it anyways. But I've got many colleagues who studied linguistics first and then dipped into economics, finances, and they are working as liaisons between big companies, between China and Holland and Korea. That's also possible. I personally am not a fan of the business sector. I'm not really particularly good at it, but I do love literature and history. And that is one of the, that is where language will really help you. Because, translating from one language into another, there's so much lost in translation, because all the underlying concepts beneath the language, it's impossible to explain those in a couple of sentences. So really helping you understand, really helping me understand the students that I teach, that's really what's been the biggest advantage. Yeah, hope that makes sense. It's not a very well structured answer. Sorry about that. Wait a second, I forgot the most important one. Well, most important, I teach languages, so having a couple under my belt and knowing how to basically apply learning language acquisition methods to, learning new languages is kind of a good thing for me, to have a little list. So it's kind of specific. And if you're thinking of studying languages yourself, it's always a good idea to kind of figure out like what you're studying for and then what use you might have for that language. Because it requires a lot of upkeep to keep those languages active in the brain. And that requires a lot of input, usually daily. to just keep at a certain level. So those are good questions, man. I agree with you there. Let's just say that my Chinese, it's good enough to pass muster, but really learning mastering a language, that's tough, man. That's tough. So, yeah, I completely understand your decision. I have found that learning more languages, it does help, though. The more you know, the easier it becomes to learn. So, if you ever change your mind, man, you're welcome to come here. I could always use someone to study with. That's really nice of you, man. Seems like you and I have got the same idea. Helping feels good, and you know, helping other people, assisting where you can. That's never wrong. And if you feel like you've something to share, you know, why not? People are putting out so much stuff already. We might as well too. Keep it up, man. I appreciate that. I think there are lots of people on here that need help. I've got a couple of Korean students that sometimes visit, though usually not on Twitch. But yeah, giving something back to the community while feeling helpful and necessary. You know, that's well necessary, needed. Never a bad thing. You know, I also think, in terms of education, there's classical education, formal education. There is, but what I've really noticed is most of what I've learned is, you know, not necessarily self-taught, but, you know, there's no such thing as immediate gains. So, consistency. And if you're one of those people who, you know, finds himself able to, or herself, able to keep up consistency and have a routine and work hard for what you want, that's a good thing. Tell you what, though, there is a Reddit study English section on Reddit. I don't know if you use the app, but people frequently have questions there about English, and all kinds of crazy questions that we'd never really think about, you know, because it's natural to us, but it's really fun too. Maybe I could share the link with you. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Might I be able to find it? Not sure if this is the right one because I'm looking it up on my computer, not on my phone. But try this one then. Plenty of people out there who need help. On another note, I don't know if you're still there. What do you think I should do? I haven't put a lot of time into my Twitch account because I'm usually just studying. This is an extra for me. But do you think I should specify that I actually do speak English? Because I think my name, Smart, the Korean version of Book Smart, might be a little bit misleading, right? Maybe I should change that. Any ideas? I welcome any and all feedback. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Yeah, I'll change it once I can change it. Twitch has got this limit on how many times you can change it. I think I might be able to pretty soon. My goal is mainly, this is a side gig, not really a gig. I just want to set an example, lead by example, show people how it can be done. One way to study language, because I know many people do, do like that. Not a lot of viewers, but that's all right. That'll come, or it won't. I'm mainly doing this for myself, but I'm a teacher at heart. I like teaching people things. I like helping out. And should someone come by, whoever needs it, and has some questions about the app that I'm using, Anki, which is used a lot by people who want to learn languages and other things, then I'm here. That's yeah, that's pretty much it as a goal. It's not really a big goal. Just paying it forward. Someone helped me out when I first started out, and I hope to do the same for others in the future. In the meantime, sometimes my friends from overseas come to bug me on this channel, which is also fun. And you're welcome back anytime, man. Alternatively, if you're ever feeling like, if you ever think like it might be a good idea to start your own channel, let me know. I'll come visit. Yeah, that's actually really good advice. I've been thinking about it, honestly. I haven't checked. Too many irons in the fire for me. It's been a thought in the back of my mind. I usually just make sure that I keep, the engine of motivation running and just keep doing this. And anything extra, yeah, what you were saying is definitely on the list. I might be doing that in the future. For now, I got class coming up and too many things to do. You know how it is. But yeah, that's on the list, and that's good advice. Thank you. I think I will do something like that in the future. I just need to get my ass moving. I'm not too lazy to write down words over and over, but posting a simple message on Reddit, that's significantly harder. Thanks, though. I appreciate it. That is good advice. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I've been trying to figure out how to stream to Discord, but I'm not sure whether there is such a feature. Again, I usually do this stuff when I have time, when I've got extra time, nothing to do, which doesn't happen a lot. But that is actually a good idea. I should figure that out, because I do have Discord, and I do know they've got a Chinese language Discord and a Korean language Discord channel. Yeah, it's a good idea. I'll check it out. Do you know? I'm not sure. Do you know whether you can like stream to Discord? Is that a thing? Would I have to set that up separately? Like, I know you can use video chat and that kind of stuff, but I'm now using a product called Restream, which basically splits your stream and sends it to different platforms like YouTube and now Twitch. Yeah, I was wondering whether the same can be done for Discord. I'm not sure. And I shouldn't be asking you this. I should just be performing a simple Google search. My bad. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. Sharing my screen's possible. It's not a bad thing. You know, why not? I'll look into it, and if you ever come around, I'll let you know how it goes. that's a tough one. That's really a tough one because it's a good question. It is a really, really good question. Are you familiar with the term frame of reference? I think you might be. The problem is, I gave a lecture about this some time ago, but I won't bore you with the details because it takes hours. Let me see if I can share my opinion without name dropping. Well, yeah, well, so language refers to your frame of reference. So language is just a reference system. It has no meaning, in and of itself. It's completely arbitrary. The fact that we call a horse and we use the H there instead of the French ours, there's no rhyme or reason to it other than convention. The big problem is, how does language refer to your frame of reference, which is everything you know: concepts, impressions, language also, emotion, everything you've smelled, heard, felt, seen. And the problem there is that humans, we use concepts to create more concepts. So I'll give you an example. There's this tribe that was never introduced to an orange. They didn't know what that fruit was, but they knew what a lemon was. And so they called it, in their language, lemon's older brother. So they used the idea of being bigger, like older. That's one concept. The idea of brother, another concept which they had in their frame of reference, and of course lemon. And so that's how they created a new concept out of an old one. Now, because these concepts are related to their words, the words that they know, well, the newer concepts that they make are based on the older concepts they already have. And this leads to like a lot of misunderstandings, but also like it's impossible for linguists to translate everything, because some words simply refer, like some English words or concepts and metaphors, they refer to ideas that do not exist in other frames of references. There are simple concepts that do. I'll give you one. Light. Light is like a concept that we use for either clarity, intelligence, and knowledge. Like, hey, could you enlighten me? Hey, that's very illuminating. Wow, I'm in the dark about this subject. That guy is not very bright. These are all concepts that are related to an earlier concept. So the concept of light is now used, in our culture at least, as a as a way of either indicating clarity, knowledge, or intelligence. And most cultures have this with the basic concepts of light. But there are many other concepts that simply don't exist in every frame of reference. Now, I will say this. English is beautiful because it has so many visual metaphors that we're not even aware of. Like expressions that we'll use it willy-nilly, and Chinese students have no idea what you're talking about. And then you've got to like double back and be like, oh, okay. I told them something. Let me see if I can give you an example. Throwing your hat in the ring. Or throwing your towel in the ring. Like, it's time to throw in the towel. For Chinese people, that means nothing. So for them, it's really taken literally, and English is just so full of that. In order to understand the English language, you need to first understand the Western history. Almost. Not even almost. You need to understand it. You need to understand the Second World War and what happened during that era, at least implicitly. You don't have to know every single detail. But, when we say things like, wow, he blew up, or let's blow this joint, or, all the metaphors that we have that has something to do with weapons, and it blows your mind, man. It's amazing. And we have many metaphors on the Industrial Revolution. And also, a lot of those, for example, the guy had steam coming out of his ears. That could be taken from a tea kettle, could also have come from a locomotive. But a lot of our visuals are caught up in our language. So we can picture those visuals when we hear people talk, and we don't really have to anymore. We understand the meaning behind it. But for many Chinese and Korean students, it's like going through a maze, and every reference leads to more references. So I would say that English as a communication tool is a beautiful tool that can really help you understand very complex concepts, because we've made those in our own culture. However, you first need to know the concepts behind them, and most kids learn this implicitly. And we learn this through Looney Tunes, old Disney cartoons, but just almost anything that we're subjected to, our input. And other students don't get this, so it's an amazing tool, which requires a lot of help to learn, because most of the time it's not about language. It's about the ideas behind it that they first need to really imagine before they understand what the language we're using refers to. As for Chinese, theirs is very beautiful as well. But it's different. It's very different. I'll give you an example. The word for laptop, for computer, is 电脑, and that means nothing to us, in English. But 电 means electricity. 脑 means brain. So their word for computer is electric brain. And that just shows you that they took older concepts they already had, put them together, and created a new concept, or at least a new way to refer to something that they didn't understand. And this is a characteristic of the Chinese language, because at the same time they're able to create very vivid characters, or not create, just put characters together, and immediately you understand the meaning if you understand both characters. But on the other hand, they are kind of limited by those characters. So it's not like a new character will be made willy-nilly with a new sound. Nope. It's the same characters they've been using before, but just arranged in a new way. And this can also be quite limiting in a sense, because it requires more characters to explain a new concept sometimes, using older concepts, and sometimes the older concepts just don't make the cut. They just don't have it completely, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but this is what I talk to my students about. I bore them to death with this kind of stuff. Wow, I forgot to study even. Curse of teaching, man. I'll find my own course, my own field more interesting than my students do. Oh yeah? I'm curious to hear them. It's a long time issue. It's beautiful, but it's also very hard to explain to people, Unnecessary complexity. Yeah, man, that is very, very true. And you'll see that in many languages. So you'll see the basics, like the basic concepts, but over time things get more sophisticated. Oh, I've got someone on the other stream. Shiny together. 루시님, 안녕하세요. Yeah, the unnecessary complexity is a result of just never-ending references to new references to new references to new concepts. And, take memes as an example. Like one meme refers to another, to another, to another, and in order to understand what the meme is about now, you're going to have to go back to like 7 memes before that. I don't know how to fix it, though. I really, that's one of the biggest, we could get a new language, but that one would get complex over time. So really, it's just tabula rasa. Are we going to start over? In the end, I think it's actually really nice to have history in your language. But yeah, it requires a lot of extra time to really be able to communicate, you know? Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. It's Shakespeare has been abused in this way. Like it's just the same happens in China, by the way. It's like in Chinese history, what's really interesting to see is that their expressions, they often refer to older expressions because for some reason tried and true and old is gold, like that concept of yeah, well, he referred to some guy 1,000 years ago, so it must be like full of wisdom. Yeah, we got those. We got those everywhere, man. Every language is guilty of it. I think people do this in general. But you're right. You're right. Unless you know all these synonyms and you're used to using them, if it's in your register, fair. But I think yeah, this is also a problem in academics for me at least. When I read an academic article, there's something called a bullshit radar, and mine goes off quite frequently. That said, I am guilty of this. I do the same thing. And it's kind of hard to scale down to find the original synonym. Yeah. And when that happens, it something happens in the brain, man. So it's like, why can't I simplify? It happens quite a lot, actually. The more I read, the harder it gets. And then you lose touch with reality. And then that's hard for a teacher. 루시님 미안해요. 제가 너무 말하고 있어요. 제가 공부해야 돼요. Yeah, well there you go. There you go. See, it sneaks in. It sneaks in, man. And it's just sometimes you gotta scale down and keep yourself honest, but it's one of those things, you get used to a certain language environment, and boom, before you know it, these words start sneaking in. I had my brother. He started using the word dope, like a lot. Just, oh, that's dope, and I couldn't stand it, and he couldn't stand it. He just started using it from one day to the next, and he couldn't stop. And he's just like, help me stop, help me. I think that's also part of we're social animals. It kind of happens by itself. So it's interesting if you can get a hold of that. Just really stop yourself from complexifying. But a 5-year-old is more likely to understand than I try to say it that way. I think that's the mark of a master, isn't it? They said, I don't remember who said that, but yeah, if you can't explain something simply, then you must not understand it well enough. And I think that's really true in academics. 조심해요, 루시님. 운전해요. 퇴근했어요. 수고했어요. Yeah, man, I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. Many linguists say the same thing. They say like, okay, so I learned a lot of languages, and it really does help you learn faster and conceptualize things, imagine things. There we go. But yeah, if we're honest, we're at 60% of if there if there's an imaginary like meter telling you like how well do you know the language? Let's say 60% for most languages learned after a certain age. What does help, though, I can tell you this: there's a difference between we distinguish between passive and active registry, meaning like the words that a standard native English person knows of around 40,000 words just to be able to function in everyday life, but he only uses about 20,000 as in his active registry, meaning or register, sorry, meaning. He knows more words than he uses. And that, I would say, is true. So, just if you use language as a tool to understand other people, which is what it's about, right? That is something I really like. But in terms of being able to produce the language yourself, I think I should admit that at least I haven't reached that level in any of my languages, not even my native one. So my English level, it'll take even when I don't know how old you are. But I'm in my 30s, and yeah, man, it's exactly what you said. It's gonna take a lifetime, and even after that, you're gonna you'll realize you're just never going to get there. Chinese is the same. They say it's like you don't study it for a while, you study it for a lifetime, and even after that, like it's 31. Yeah, we're close to the same age. I'm 33, but I feel pretty young. My wife tells me I look older than her. Hardly a lifetime, I guess. Hey, man, as far as we're concerned, we're pretty old. But no, I find myself agreeing with you 100% on that. I barely speak my own language. What use is there in learning others? Though, yeah, the use is really just understanding other people, finding out what's in their frame of reference and adding it to your own, and that's addicting, man. Like that is really cool for me to find out like, okay, they say a certain thing and they use a certain term and what's behind that, and stories. That's what's behind it. Like stories behind the language, and it shows how people think. For example, last week I had a class with a few students, and they were looking for the idea of the rat race in the English frame of reference. Just the rat race, just the 9 to 5, working all day, working really hard for meager gains, that kind of thing. And they've got their own version of it in Chinese, but they didn't know how to translate it. They would translate it from Chinese to English to tanking. Like I'm tanking. And this is apparently a word they got from games where, to tank a game. I think it was that one. Might be something else as well. But they told me that one. To tank something. To just let go and just let go and just let it happen. And yeah, it's loosely related to the rat race. But basically it just means like no longer competing in the rat race. Stop looking for that cheese. And that's the current zeitgeist in China, you could say. It's like a lot of people, they have a lot of competition there going on. And for many people, they just can't keep up because, there's only so many good positions available and high salaries, and most of them are just trying to get by. And so you have many students that are really demotivated by the time they get to the uni, get to college. So that's interesting. That's like a never-ending source of topics and things to talk about. Alright, man. I'm gonna call it quits for today. How long did I do today? 2 hours, 18 minutes. Not bad. Spent most of that talking, though, but I'll take it. Hey, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate your 2 cents. Thanks for the advice as well, and you're welcome anytime. I'm gonna go and prepare some lasagna. Cheers. 루시님, 가야 돼요. 제가 라자냐 먹어야 돼요. 바이바이. 수고했어요. Cheers.